Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Timber Technology. Today, we'll be going through chapter 9, and this has to do with timbers. So, the topics for today that we'll be going through are types of timbers, and we're going to go through some European timbers and some African timbers. And these are the main ones that we'll be going through, not all of them. So, we're going through some of the main um, types of timbers. We'll also be going through hardwoods and softwoods, okay? So there are hardwoods that are around the world, and there are different types of softwoods also that are around the world. It's hard to differentiate the difference between the two, so I'll be going to them. So if you're looking at a piece of wood, you should be able to know what type of wood it is, whether it is hardwood or softwood. We'll also be classifying timber. So we'll be going through the different types of timber. After that, we'll be going through the structure of a tree, the main parts of a tree. You probably know some of them already, like the root, the trunk, and so on. So we'll be going through that. I'll also be showing you how to convert timber into commercial sizes. So timber conversion is a something that is a $1 trillion industry, and we'll be going through how to convert timber from the logs that you see that they cut down into commercial sizes that you use to build furniture, etc. We'll also be going in how to season timber, how to dry timber, and how to make it ready in order to be cut and to be made into furniture. So before you actually cut the wood into furniture and so on, you have to dry it out, make sure it's not moist. So we'll be going through that, okay? So uh, get your notepad, get your snacks, um, get your pen or pencil, and let's go. Okay, so the first thing that we'll be going through is the African timbers, and these are found in the tropical zones. And if you look at the map right here, you'll see the tropical climate is mostly in the middle areas. So you'll find African timbers in mostly in those greener areas. Um, Tropical forest zones in the West and Central Africa abound species of timber that have for many years been a major foreign exchange earner for countries in those regions. Okay, so places like Ghana, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, Cameroon, Sierra Leone. These countries have a lot of famous footballers. I'm a footballer myself, and I watch football. So um, you have people like SEN, Drogba in those areas. Okay, so those countries produce a lot of timber that is good for their economy. Okay, so what we'll be going through is some of the different species of the wood that you can be found in West and Central Africa. Okay, so the first one is the Abura. Okay, the Abura or the Sobaha is a West and Central Africa tree that grows about 40 meters in height. Okay, so 1 meter is about 3 feet, and 1 foot or 1 foot is about the size of a tile, a regular tile. So if you look at 3 tiles and you multiply that by 40, the 3 tiles, you will get 40 meters high. Okay, so that's how high those trees go. They are very, very, very tall. Okay, um, the inside of them are pinkish brown, and they are of medium weight compared to others, and it has a distinct growth wing. Okay, so if you look at that, let me look for the highlighter or the laser pointer. If you look right here, it has a distinct growth ring where in the middle it's very, very dark and dense, and on the outer part is very, very light. So there's a huge contrast, meaning there's a difference between the two. Um, the inner part is much darker than the outer part. Okay, so that is the Abura. And right here, this is how the wood actually looks when it is converted into commercial timber. Okay, so it would look something like this. All right. Some of them might be a little bit lighter, some might be a little bit darker. It depends on where they are grown. Okay, so no color of timber is always the same. Okay, all right. Another thing that you should know that timbers that are obtained from the tropical forest are mainly poured woods. Okay, so timbers that come from the tropical forest are poured woods. If you have a non-poured wood, that is a softwood, and I'll talk about that in later on. Okay, all right. So these are mostly hardwoods. All right. The next one is an Agbar. So previously we had the Abura and now we have the Agbar. And this is a yellowish brown timber and it's mostly found in West Africa and Central Africa. It has even, fine grain. And if you can look here, you see the grain is actually um, evenly separated. Okay, it is easily seasoned and easy to work with. Some woods are more difficult to work with because of the growth rings can cause a little bit of problems, can cause problems in terms of cutting and shaping your furniture how you want it. Okay, the next one is the Danta, which is next to the Akbar. This is a little bit darker, and this tree grows to about 27 meters in height. So it's a little bit shorter than the, and I'll go back, a little bit shorter than the Abura, which is about 40 meters right here. So the Danta is about 27 meters in height. Um, if you want to, you can go outside and measure. If you want to measure 40 meters or 27 meters, just multiply this number by 3 and then walk the distance, okay? Because each step will be about 1 foot, okay? All right. So it is resistant to fungus and insect attack. We'll talk about that in the next chapter. It's very easy to work with and very easy when you're using machines and so on. Some woods are so dense that you'll need proper machines to actually cut them down and so on. Okay, it takes screws and glues well and can be easily turned. So this wood, the Danta, looks like it's very good if you want to make furniture from it. Some woods are not very friendly to furniture making, but this one would be good. Okay, and it's not just for furniture. You can use it for construction, you can use it for flooring, you can use it to make railway carriages. That's what they used to do before, so you want to do that. Building boats, tool handles, let's say the handle of a chisel, you would use that type of wood for it. Okay, all right. The ebony, I'm sure some of you might have heard of this. Ebony wood is a very, very dark wood, and this is found in West Africa, and it does not grow very high or huge. Okay, it's about 12 meters high. And what I want you to do is compare the 40-meter high tree to the 12 meters. So this is a lot shorter than the first one, which was the Abura. Okay, so this is a lot shorter than the Abura, and if you look at the wood, it's almost black, but you can see little brown streaks in it. Okay, so it's very, very dark. Okay, the Makore is a West and Central African timber, and inside of it's the color of it is a more pinkish brown to purplish color. So if you look carefully, you'll see a little bit of purples right in here and a little bit of pink right in here, and you have the dark brown. Okay, so it has like different tiger like colors. So if you're making furniture of a certain style or to match a certain color of your wall, you might want to use that wood. Okay, so choosing your wood is very, very important. So you need to know what woods are good for building and what the color of the wood will also be. Okay, all right. So another thing that I want you to know is the poured woods, which is also known as hardwoods, are obtained from deciduous trees. I'll go through what deciduous trees are, and so that you can know the difference between poured woods and non-poured woods. Okay, so the poured woods are known as hardwoods, and the non-poured woods are known as softwoods. If you remember anything today, I want you to know that. Okay, all right, the difference between the hardwoods and the softwoods. Okay, all right. It is also used for good class furniture and paneling. Okay, so good class meaning high class, meaning that it would look like quality when you build it. Okay, all right. So the next one is the Mansonia, and this is a medium-sized tree. It's 30 meters, 10 meters shorter. It's very high, but 10 meters shorter than the Abura. Am I right? Yes, the Abura. Okay, so the Abura is 40. This is 30 meters, and as you can see, it's similar. It has a more greenish color, but it's similar to the previous one that we saw, except for the Makore, it's a little bit more pinkish and purplish. So this one, the Mansonia, it's much more of a greener wood. Okay, so when planning, this would take care to prevent the sawdust from getting into your throat and nose. Okay, so some woods have chemicals that are in them, and it is based on their surroundings. Whatever the tree goes around, whatever water flowed down to the roots of the tree, it contains chemicals. Okay, and what they're saying is that you should try and prevent it from getting into your nose and throat, which comes to PPE. Always wear your PPE because you never know what can be entering your body and what your body can take and cannot take. Okay, so it is also used for high class furniture, interior decoration, and piano cases. So if you look at a piano, you would see the top of the case that they close down onto the piano. They use that for that type of wood for it. It is also used for dashboards of cars. So the front of the car on the dashboard where you have the wheel and so on, they use that type of wood, Mansonia. Okay, Mansonia. All right. So up in the corner, I'll put all the different types so that you can remember what they are. Mahogany. This tree is very, very popular. One of the most popular trees or types of woods around the world. Mahogany is usually counterfeited, meaning that it is copied for other types of woods. So people actually stain them a mahogany color, a cheaper type of wood, a mahogany color so that it can have the look of quality. Okay, so if you look at this wood, you can see how good and how nice and dark it is. So it's really, really, really quality wood, and it's very expensive, of course. So whenever I said there's a quality wood, the price actually goes up. So just think about the price going down when it's a cheaper wood, and a cheaper looking wood, and the price going up if the wood actually looks better. Okay, all right. When freshly converted or cut, it looks pinkish, but it becomes reddish when seasoned. So before it is dried out and thing, it would look pinkish, and then when it becomes dried out or seasoned, um, it takes a darker reddish color. Okay, it's good for holding nails and screws and so on. Okay, so it's a very good furniture making wood. Okay, furniture, paneling, interior fittings, and so on. Okay, All right, and this is the tree right here. It is 58 meters in height. So it's a very, very tall tree compared. So this one is the longest tree. This is longer than the Abura tree. Okay, so a very, very high tree. Okay, the mahogany. All right, so the next one is the African walnut, and this is found in West and Central Africa, and it grows up to 45 meters. The grain texture is a bit different from the others, as you can see, and it is often black streaked with brown in between. It looks like you're pouring a drink and or coffee or something, and gives you these types of shapes. Okay, so if you want variety in your wood and not just long streaks, you want to look at the African walnut. It's very easy to work with, and machines and tools takes them very easy. Nails and screws takes them very easy. You want to make sure the wood that you use takes nails and screws very well. If they don't do that, your piece or the thing that you're making will fall apart. Okay, so make sure that the wood is proper. Okay, all right. So the next we're gonna go to is comparing hardwoods. So comparing hardwoods and softwoods. So when you're looking at hardwoods, um, you can see the difference between both of them. Okay, the hardwood has a pour. Okay, this is called a pour or vessel. The softwood, look at it. This is actually looking very, very closely. If you're looking through a microscope, you will see these right here. So with your bare eye, you won't be able to see all of these. But this is actually what is happening in the softwoods and the hardwoods. So if you see a poured wood, it is called a hardwood. And if you see the softwoods, if you see a non-poured wood, it is called a softwood. Okay, all right. All right, so let's move on to European timbers. We went through African timbers, and if you remember, the tallest one was the mahogany, which was I think 58, and the second tallest was the Abura. Okay, so now we're going to move on to European timbers, and they produce a variety of species of poured and non-poured trees. So whenever you see poured and non-poured, you would know they're talking about hardwood and they're talking about softwood. Okay, used as timber for export and local use. So these are used to export all over the world. African timber, South American timber, all over. Okay, so you have demand for certain types of wood that people use for certain jobs or for certain purposes. So they are exported all around the world and imported. All right, so the first one we're going to do is ashwood, and this is a hardwood, so therefore it is a poured wood. Okay, so it has a pour inside of itself. Ash is a tough and durable timber obtained in northern Europe. It has a cream to pale brown color, and it is noted for good bending qualities. All right, so in northern Europe, whenever you see something that you like, an area that you're not sure of, I want you to type it in to Google or Internet Explorer and type it in, and then you will know where northern Europe is. Okay, it's good to know those types of things. It is noted for good bending qualities and is used for making high quality furniture. Okay, so this is a good ashwood. It's a lighter color and it's cream, very cream, and compared to the mahogany, it's night and day. Okay, beechwood is another close grain timber, and it is also a hardwood, and it's common through Europe. Okay, all right. You have boxwood. So what I'm gonna do is let you go through each one. You have boxwood, you have elm, you have hickory wood, and Spanish mahogany. Okay, so we looked at mahogany in Africa, but you have the Spanish mahogany version, and probably would look similar to the other mahogany. Oak is very strong, durable timber, and is obtained in Britain. Okay, sycamore is also a strong, close grain, creamy white timber, and it's similar to the previous one, which was the ash, but it has a different look. Okay, so yeah, the sycamore is boxwood, similar to the boxwood. So um, non-poured wood also is a softwood, and the softwood is these are the different types of softwoods, which is larch, pitch pine, yellow pine, redwood, Sitka spruce, European spruce, and yew. Okay, so learn the different types of softwoods, which are non-poured, and hardwoods, which are poured. Okay, so these are all from Europe. All right, so the next thing we're going to move on to is classifications of timber. We're going to classify timber. Okay, timber is a natural product of solid wood, and it comes from a tree, as we know, which has been sawn to sizes. Okay, suitable for building construction and so on. Okay, timbers are also used for making furniture in homes, offices, for tool bodies, for handles, chisels, and saws. Okay, um, a study of timber must begin with the living tree. Okay, and in figure 9.1 you will see the parts of the tree, and here above the trunk itself you have the crown, um, below the soil itself you have the roots right here. Okay, you have the ground level, you have the trunk, and you have the crown. So roots, the trunk, and the crown. So CTR: crown, trunk, roots, roots, trunk, crown. Okay, all right. So the crown, that is composed of the branches and the leaves, the roots, which are embedded in the soil, they support the entire tree. So this tree cannot stand unless the roots are very, very strong. Okay, they are into the ground and they actually support the tree because there's a lot of wind above ground. So if you have a wind and you have a lot of leaves and so on, that tree will be moving all over the place. So what you want to do is have something that would support um, the above area of the tree, and those are the roots. Okay, also the roots serve as an absorber of water. So they absorb the water and the mineral salts from the soil, which are transmitted through the sapwood of the trunk. Okay, they are transmitted, sorry, to the sapwood of the trunk. So these are the roots. They suck up all of the minerals and the water, and they go up this way into the trunk and go into the crown of the tree, into the branches and the leaves. Okay, and that's how you get all your fruits and your your fruits, the apples, your oranges, anything that grows, your grapes, anything that grows on the tree. um, they actually need the food from the roots themselves. Okay, or from the ground. All right, so now that you know, I'm gonna go through the different types of trees. How do you associate hardwood trees and softwood trees, and how do you differentiate them from each other? So here we have a softwood tree, and here we have a hardwood tree. What is the difference between the two? Well, if you look at the hardwood tree, you would see that it is wider than the softwood tree. The leaves are much more broader, or the crown is much more spread out compared to the softwood tree. The softwood tree, have you ever seen like a Christmas tree? A Christmas tree would be a softwood tree, so a tree that actually grows straight up and the leaves don't actually spread out that far. Okay, that would be a softwood tree. So if you are outside, you can look at any tree that is outside and you would know whether it is a softwood or whether it is a hardwood tree. Also, softwoods compared to hardwoods, the leaves are needle-like, okay? The leaves are not broad, okay? So the crown of the tree for the hardwoods are very broad. The leaves are very broad. For the softwoods, the crown of the tree is much more narrow. The leaves of the tree are much more narrow. Okay, so and then you have seeds and you have fruit containing seeds. Okay, so for the softwoods, you have cone seeds, and I don't know if anyone ever heard of sandy trees where you have the seeds actually falling off to the ground and they are on the ground and they turn brown and so on. Compared to the hardwoods where the seeds contain fruit. Okay, so these seeds you would see squirrels and so on storing them for winter and so on. They actually contain food that you can actually eat out of them. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's move on now to the structure of a tree. So this tree or this trunk is actually this right here, okay, or this right here. So this is the trunk. Let's say you cut it with a saw or chainsaw. You cut here with a saw or chainsaw, and then you turn it sideways. You would see a circle, right? Because you cut it straight across, and the trunk is round. So here you have the structure of the tree that you just cut down, okay, and you're going to go through the different parts of the tree, and the first one we're going to go through is the growth ring. So you see all these lines. If you look at the cross section, and this is the cross section because you're looking at across the tree trunk, you will see the growth rings, and these growth rings actually show you the tree actually expanding. So when you have a plant or you're planting a tree, it is very small. It is very narrow at first. It doesn't just start being broad. So after a while, the tree gets the food from the roots, and then it expands, it expands, it expands. Like a human being, if it eats a lot of food, it would expand and expand. So this right here is the tree itself, the small little tree, and it's put together. Right now it's spaced apart, but it would be a small little tree trunk, and then after a while it will grow out and grow out and grow out. And all these rings shows you the years and years and years that it took for that tree to grow. So these growth rings actually tell you how old a tree is, okay? How old a tree is. And right in the middle here, you have the pit, and the growth rings grow out away from the pit. So if you have a lot of growth rings, you would actually be able to tell if the tree is 50 years or 100 years or 5 years or, you know, 80 years and so on. Okay, so you would know how the age of a tree, and the age of a tree depends on the type of tree it is. So if you see growth rings for one tree and growth rings for another tree, it might be different aging process. All right, so right in the middle where it's separated, this is called the pit. These are the medulla rays, which are the lines that the sections, sorry, that are created from the growth rings. In between the growth rings, you have the cambium layer, and this is the layer between the tree trunk itself or the back itself, sorry, the back itself, and the medulla rays, okay, medullary rays. So the cambium layer is a thin layer in between the medulla rays and the trunk. The sapwood lies actually in the growth rings themselves. So the growth rings contain the sapwood in the tree itself. So if you cut a piece of wood, you'll see all the lines, and in between the medulla rays, or the actual piece of wood itself, you would see a lighter waxy color material, okay, and that is the sapwood. um, Further in to the pit, you also have hardwood, okay. So the hardwood is a more dense, a more moisture content based wood, and the hardwood is used for if you have something that you need to last a long time. You probably would use the hardwood, okay. um, on the outside now, you have the dead bark, so the dry part of the tree. Let me go back. So the dry part of a tree right here, if you can see the pointer, this is called the dry bark. And just inside of the dry bark, you would have the more wetter. If you cut a piece, you will see a more wetter version of the bark, okay. So you have your growth rings, your pit, medullary rays, you have the cambium layer, you have the live bark, the dead bark, the hardwood, and the sapwood, okay? And the hardwood is much more denser than the sapwood. All right? Okay, so we're gonna move on now to conversion of timber. And this is when a tree or a mature tree is felled in the forest, or is cut down, and it is cut. After it is cut down, the log is cut down, it is cut up into manageable pieces, and it is used for commercial purposes. So logs are prepared, the backs are peeled off because you don't really need the backs if you're going to make commercial size woods. And there are three methods of conversion. You have live, you have through and through, and you have back or tangential sawing, okay. So I'll show you the different ones. All right, so this one is live sawing, actually goes straight through the wood. And this one is back sawing, where you actually go around the wood. So this one you just cut straight through, you run it through the saw, and the saw is vertical or horizontal, and you just cut. This one over here is different, where you cut, you rotate the wood, you cut, you rotate the wood. So the question is, which one would be more efficient or much more quicker? It would be this one, right? Because you're not having to turn it and turn it and turn it all the time, okay. All right, and then you have quarter sawing, which actually would take even longer. In the middle, you have through and through, and then at the end, you have different types of wood. And the type of cut that you make will determine how the side and the front of the wood looks, okay. Just know that the type of, because remember you have the rings right here. So if you look at here, this is the cross section. If you cut the wood a certain way, you would have a certain type of design on your wood. So that's why you have different types of sawing methods, okay. Because clients or people who actually are making the furniture, they would want a certain look on their woods. So if you look below here, you see this one has a different shape compared to above here. That is because it is cut in a different way, okay. It's cut in a different way or in a different area. All right, so Last thing we're going to go through is the seasoning of timber, and this is the drying process. So like I said, when you do timber conversion or you cut down the logs, they will be too wet or too moisturized to use in the shop or in a furniture making area. The machines won't be able to cut them properly because they are wet. Okay, so you want to dry out the excess moisture from a converted timber so it can be worked, okay, it can be worked on. Okay, so here you have a number of timber that have been converted into commercial sizes. So you see all of them. And what is going on? They are stacked on top of each other. And in between the stacks, you have stickers, so little pieces of sticks. And this would actually create a space in between all of them so that they can dry properly. Because if you stack them on top of one another, the only ones that will dry are the bottom ones and the top ones. So you want to create stickers or spacers in between them so that air can flow inside and they can dry out properly. The building supports prevent them from touching the ground itself, the building block supports, so that no chemicals or water can enter into them. And also, the floor that they are on would create moisture in the wood. So you want to keep it off the ground so that it can dry properly. On top of it now, you want to have a cover so that if you have rain or anything, water wouldn't be able to seep through and enter into the wood itself. And you want to put some block weights so that it doesn't just fly off. Okay, all right. The block weights also keep the board straight because if you know the wood actually can change its shape. Okay, so if you have the blocks on top of it, it would keep the wood flat and secure. Okay, all right. The next type of method of seasoning, and the first one was ear drying. Okay, so this is natural ear seasoning. If I say drying, I mean seasoning. Okay, so it's basically drying of the wood. So the next method of seasoning or drying is kiln seasoning. So this is a kiln, and what is happening is that there is heat coming from the bottom, and this is a man-made heat, so it's maybe like some type of fire or heating process actually goes up into the wood itself. So these are the pieces of wood and they are spaced out. This is the spaces in between, and they are put on a wheel or something that would roll them into the kiln. This is called the kiln. They would roll them into the kiln and then they would leave them there, and the heat would actually take all the moisture out of the wood. Okay, and the third one is a progressive kiln. So what is happening is that these are the pieces, these are the stacks of wood, just like this one, and they actually have to go through a process, and the ear is actually let into the kiln itself, and then there are heating coils. So the air flows into the heating coils, and once the air flow into the heating coils, it create what? Hot air. Okay, and then the hot air comes down here and goes into the wood itself. Okay, so this is actually a different way to do it compared to this one where the heating coils dry the wood itself. Okay, right, so there are three different ways. You have natural air seasoning, kiln seasoning, which is this one, and progressive kiln seasoning, which is this one. Okay, shrinkage is likely to occur in the wood, so you want to make sure that you don't over dry it. Over drying the wood can cause a lot of shrinkage. So let's say it's similar to baking something. If you over heat it, it will dry out the piece of whatever you are baking too quick. So you don't want to over dry it. You want to give it a certain temperature that would make it dry out slowly and securely, because if you have shrinkage, the wood would change all over the place and you would have a bent wood that will not be able to use for commercial purposes. Okay, so you want to keep your wood well seasoned. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's the end of it. If you understood everything that we went through, hit the like button. Please subscribe. We want to get to 1,000 before December. Okay, so have a nice day, and I'll see you on part 2 of this video. All right, bye.